Hi. Today I'm going to make a video on the infamous YouTuber Feminist Frequency, aka Anita Sarkeesian. Honestly, it's not that hard to make a video on these guys. I know it's a bit of a cliche, but the stuff this bitch says is just so stupid. Like, I could go in and dispute any one of her videos. Because, damn, is that shit easy? Alright, so, today we're going to be doing the all slender ladies body diversity in video games, because I've seen part of this video and I completely disagree. Here we go. Why would I need to? This intro's giving me cancer. Can I skip past?
Entertainment showed off a new game they had in the At their annual BlizzCon event in 2014, the wildly successful game studio Blizzard Entertainment showed off a new game they had in the works called Overwatch. And from that first reveal, it was clear the appeal of Overwatch resided in its cast of characters, a diverse assortment of heroes, each with unique traits and abilities. The roster revealed at BlizzCon included men and women, sentient robots, and super intelligent gorillas. However, for all the apparent variety and diversity in the heroes Blizzard showed off at the game's debut, there wasn't much diversity to be seen in the body types represented by the female heroes. The male characters introduced that day included the towering knight Reinhardt, the sturdy engineer Torbjorn, the agile archer Hanzo, and the hulking simian scientist Winston, among others. The 5 female characters introduced consisted of the slender adventurer Tracer, the slender healer Mercy, the slender support character Symmetra, the slender sniper Widowmaker, and the slender but well-armored security chief Pharah.
Alright, I'm just gonna say this now. First of all, it's physically impossible for Tracer to be a lightweight, because Tracer's to be a heavyweight, because Tracer's a fast character, and her backstory says she's a glitch in time. The thing about her being a glitch in time is she's moving around all the time. And moving around is exercise, making it so she won't be fat. Next, she talks about the slender healer Mercy. Mercy's hot. I'm just kidding. But still, the reason that Mercy's slender is because you don't want a healer to be much of a target. Because if a healer is a huge target that you can hit easily, then your team won't have any good healers. Next, the slender sniper, Widowmaker. Widowmaker is a sniper. She's supposed to be hard to see. She's supposed to be small. AKA the reason she's a sniper. And slender. The last one, the slender but well-armored security chief, Pharah. Pharah is a well-armored character. Pharah honestly isn't really a target for any kind of controversy. She's not necessarily slender. She's a security chief. In fact, Anita Sarkeesian has videos on her channel about how she wants to, about how women are portrayed as weak in video games. Well, Pharah is a perfect example of the opposite.
Overwatch was hardly alone in having all of its female characters share a similar physique.
Not all of his female characters share a similar physique. There's Zarya, and although nobody ever really uses Zarya because she sucks, she's a buff fucking chick. And of course, there's all that food on the internet you can find, but that's not canon. And there's also Mei. Mei, there's a lot of controversy over whether she's fat or it's just the coat. But I'm just gonna go off that she's chunky. And still, everybody loves Mei. It's not that anybody has a problem with body types. It's just that the body types have a lot to do with where they're placed in their category. See, Zarya, she's a tank. She's okay with being a big person, because all tanks are big. Winston's a huge tank, Reinhardt's a huge tank, and the rest of the tanks are pretty big motherfuckers.
In Ultra Street Fighter 4, characters such as Dalsum, Hakan, E Honda, Rufus, and Vega represent a significant range of male body types.
Not a significant range. See, the first one, skinny and buff. Second one, giant and buff. Third one, a little bit on the fatter side, but still buff. This guy, fat but buff. And the last guy, buff. See, honestly, what most of Anita Sarkeesian's videos are about is the cultural appropriation of women. But the thing about it is, within culture, men are literally in almost every way possible shown to be these buff, fucking ass-beating men. Like, Overwatch is a prime example of this. Overwatch has a gorilla as a character. Overwatch has no characters that are just some guy that's super weak and can't really do anything. And if you consider, Roadhog as an example of diverse men's body types, which would be the only example in the game, and I've got two, and I've given reasons that the women are slender. But the thing about Roadhog is he's really, really strong. See, there's science behind Roadhog to where in order to pull people with that chain, and in order to throw that chain, he would have to be really strong.
Looking at the roster of female characters, however,
they don't look too diverse either. The men didn't look diverse in any way, honestly. And in the end, it doesn't matter if they look diverse or not. See, first of all, this is a really old series of games with characters already entrenched in its story, and to change these characters would just be stupid.
while some may be a bit taller than others or have slightly larger thighs, not one of them represents a notable departure from the slender body type that has been established as the standard of conventional female attractiveness. Similarly, when we look at the champions on offer in the huge...
Real quick, she's gonna say something like, oh, men are portrayed in different ways. Honestly, that fish character probably doesn't have a gender. They look like they don't have genitalia at all. See that loincloth? That's not big enough to cover anything. Secondly, we have this giant tree or something. I can't tell what it is, but it looks like a giant dangerous monster. That's a man in a video game. The monkey looks like a really strong, dangerous enemy. And then the third one's some chipmunk that, I don't know, it's just a crazy scientist chipmunk. There can be a crazy scientist chipmunk girl, too. Doesn't really make a difference what gender the crazy scientist chipmunk is. Also, the last one, she's gonna say, later on she's gonna give an example that men are portrayed as grotesque, but even the men that are portrayed as grotesque are portrayed as buff, male characters that are dangerous.
Hugely popular MOBA League of Legends, we see the designers employing a wonderful range of body shapes and proportions across dozens of male characters, from the classic muscular warrior physique of Tarek, to the hefty beer belly of Gragas, to the...
Honestly, we've had some fat female characters in video games. It doesn't really make a difference whether we have fat characters in video games. See, in MOBAs like Smite, we have gods that are portrayed in certain ways, and since those gods are portrayed in certain ways, we can't really make them fat idiots, besides Bacchus, but he is literally the god of wine and other stuff like that. And in League of Legends, it's better to make a fat man, first of all, because, of course, I will agree with her on this one, that sex does sell. But she would say sexism sells. Honestly, it's not really sexism, it's just you trying to make a problem out of something that really isn't.
Cartoonishly disproportionate body of Dr. Mundo. There isn't any
really, really buff body of Dr. Mundo.
One male body type that is presented as the standard default male body type, and the value of these...
Not really, all of them are big, buff, dangerous monsters, besides maybe Chipmunk and Fishman over there, but from what I've seen of League of Legends, they have small female characters. They have small, nonchalant-looking female characters. Like, they have little kid female characters. Same with Smite, they have Scylla, the little kid's female character, but technically is a sea monster.
Characters is definitely not connected to their sexual desirability. But when we look at the female...
Honestly, yes, these women are hot, but it doesn't have anything to do with it's fucking whatever she said. Honestly, as attractive as these women are, it wouldn't really make a difference if they were less attractive. See, really buff men are attractive, and in some cases, really fat men are attractive. See, since culture has so many different ideas of what attractiveness is, men tend to be shaped into that person's idea of what prime male attractiveness would be. And most characters in most examples of video games are really buff, dangerous men.
There's nothing approaching the diversity we see on the male side of the...
Still, we see 5 characters. That's not really giving us a broad spectrum of examples. I bet any League of Legends character could name many different diverse... League of Legends players could name many different diverse types of characters in the female gender area.
Roster. There are a few noteworthy variations from the standard. Illaoi is somewhat more muscular than many of the female...
Yes, but she doesn't... what she's probably going to say next is she still looks slim. Honestly, she doesn't look slim to me. She doesn't look attractive to me. She looks muscular and like a prime example of a different idea of women.
Characters. Jinx has smaller breasts.
Honestly, I'm surprised you gave an example like that. Somebody like that would be figured as like sort of like Harley Quinn. Harley Quinn's hot. Small breasts doesn't necessarily mean you're not hot.
And there's the cute gnome like Tristana.
Like I said, there are lots of different diverse examples she could have given. I've seen live streams of League of Legends where just in 3 or 4 rounds they've played a diverse range of female characters.
But the overwhelming majority of female characters make it clear that a slender figure with prominent breasts is viewed as a standard for female.
A buff figure with prominent muscles is viewed as the standard for men. Don't try to lie to yourself and say that there's no standard for men, because in any kid show or something that you'll watch, you'll find buff men. I'll give you an example. We have He-Man, really buff dude, known for actually being buff. We have Lion-O from Thundercast, known for being buff. Every main male character in anime ever known for being hot and buff. Not every anime, but you know, I haven't seen every anime. I don't watch anime frequently.
Male character design. Likewise, in Dota 2, male heroes can be handsome.
Alright, I'm just gonna say this right now. Before you go on, all these characters look pretty buff, and the 2 that don't are actually a group, and they look like they were made for comedic relief, kind of as like a short nod to Mario and Luigi. See that gross ogre-looking thing? That is... He's really muscular. And that Frankenstein-looking thing, he's really muscular and dangerous. See, men are looked at to be muscular and dangerous. Women are looked at to be slim. Honestly, there's not too much difference besides the attractiveness. But that's because women's stereotypes say they're supposed to look attractive, and men's stereotypes say that they don't have to look attractive. See, honestly, you're giving me examples just so I can slay what you're saying. You're giving me examples to making it easy for me.
Or comical, outlandish, or grotesque, while female heroes are mostly relegated to being standard humanoid.
Okay, I'm just gonna say that I'm just gonna before I let her go on. The last 2. No, about probably the last column in general. The first column is meh. They aren't even really that attractive. They look kind of like what you would imagine somebody to look like in the real world, just walking down the street. But the last 3 are just weird monster things. Don't give me examples of weird monster things if you're trying to tell me that women are primarily sexualized.
Characters with conventionally attractive facial features. Where are all the female rock creatures, skeletal priests?
There are many female rock creatures, but actually, now that I say that, I disagree with myself. Honestly, rock creatures don't have genders. It's impossible for rock creatures to have genitalia. So if you were to actually meet a rock creature in the real world, they probably wouldn't have a gender. They would have no private parts.
And whatever this thing is.
That thing probably doesn't have a gender. Like you said, you called it this thing. You proved yourself wrong.
This isn't just an issue in fighting games, MOBAs, and other titles that give...
It's not an issue in any game.
Players a range of characters to choose from. Female characters across the board are often limited to that same specific body type. I should kill you.
The Batman villain Poison Ivy is actually known for being a seductress, just like the Batman villain Catwoman. See, while there have been grotesque female Batman villains in the past, maybe even in, I mean, maybe not in widely known stories, but honestly, Batman isn't a good example because a lot of his female villains are known for being seductresses that use their sexual attractiveness to get them, you know, to get their victims. And Poison Ivy, she's basically made out of plants, so she can choose her body form. Would you want to be some fat ass bitch if you could choose your body form? As well as Catwoman. Catwoman's another example of that. In Batman, Catwoman is a really, really fucking agile woman. She can do flips and shit. Honestly, I don't think I could see some fat lady in a wheelchair doing flips and shit.
Doing all right there?
Dishonored is based a long time ago, and back in those days, you didn't have a lot of fat women because, like the example you showed was a maid, first of all, and that means maids are working 24/7 back in that time. They're working and they're getting paid. Honestly, the prime examples we have of fat women in that time are women that just don't work. I don't even know what Heavenly Sword is, and there's probably a good reason about it. It's probably a shitty game you found on the internet and posted it and put it on here. I'm just kidding. If there's any Heavenly Sword fans, don't hate.
Stay away from her.
The Third Birthday and Devil May Cry. Look at this guy. You just showed a great example. This character from Devil May Cry, he's a handsome, tall, muscular character that's very dangerous.
You want to let him go?
Please, no. Dead or Alive Extreme 2 is made for its sexy women. Dead or Alive, in general, is made for hot women. It's a game about hot women. You can't put Dead or Alive in here as an example, as it is made to cater towards a certain audience. If you're trying to talk about games that aren't made to cater towards a certain audience, give me actual proof. Like Overwatch, you may have had a good argument if I didn't shoot down every single character you put in there. Lollipop Chainsaw's another terrible example because it's made for a sexualized female character. Bayonetta as well was made for a sexualized female character. How come I've been given three examples made with a made for sexualization female character? See, if you really want to trick me into thinking that it's entrenched in the cultural zeitgeist, as you would say, that females are slender, give me examples of games where the female is not supposed to be slender. Or shouldn't have to. Again, this woman's a Jedi, and Jedis are known for being not a Jedi, but a Sith. And Sith lords, people who wield lightsabers in general, are known to be very slim, very agile people.
Then the sky wants me to trust him.
I don't know what Primal is. It's an old game. Like I said, old games are a terrible example because old games are the ones that you usually have sexualized female characters in, because it was never really a problem until just recently.
It's as if male characters are free to embody whatever physique best.
They are not free to embody whatever physique best suited for them. In fact, you've given terrible examples. See, this guy right here, he looks like a really dangerous Viking. Just because somebody's fat doesn't make them not buff as fuck. Like I said, there's science behind a lot of these characters. See, Roadhog from Overwatch, he's 500 pounds, and it looks like he's really fat, but a lot of that goes into muscle. He flings a fucking cook I don't know how many meters, but I was given an example a long time ago. I don't remember. And then pulls a character back. He can pull anywhere from, as she said, the slim sniper Widowmaker to a giant knight.
Communicates their personality or abilities, but when it comes to the
That's not true. Women are shown to have more personality than men. See, men are either shown to be either comedic relief or a huge hard ass. Women are shown to be really nice, really mean, just evil in general, seductressy. They're shown to be somewhere in the middle, to where they just don't really talk. They don't really talk much. There are females all over the spectrum, but men don't really have that much of a spectrum. It's just comedic relief or hard ass.
designs of female characters, that kind of imagination and creativity often doesn't seem to exist.
Honestly, I feel like if I were to have the choice to design a male character or a female character, and I had to be as creative as possible, I would choose a female character, because female characters, there's a lot of room for creativity. See, she's given examples of women being slender. Honestly, making a woman not slender, that's a lot of room for creativity. And putting a woman in a full suit of armor, that's a lot more room for creativity. Honestly, women have a lot more room for creativity, because everything that can be done almost has been done with a man, besides making a male character that's not comedic relief or a huge hard ass.
Rather than seeing such an exciting range of female characters, we mostly get the same body type over and over again. One designed to be sexually appealing to the presumed...
Honestly, anybody could find anything sexually appealing. In fact, you picked the wrong market to go after. In fact, on TV, you see all these actors, and they're all in good body types. Honestly, women's biggest enemy biggest enemy is women themselves, because women themselves are the ones that are making their bodies so good to look at and look nice. I actually got this idea from a more popular YouTuber than me named Thunderfoot, when I used to watch videos like that all the time. I don't now, but honestly, she really chose the wrong market.
straight male player. This reliance on the same body type for so many female characters isn't just boring, it's harmful.
It's not boring. Boob physics in Smite are pretty good. That was a joke, by the way. Honestly, it's sort of fun because it leaves room. In fact, given the examples I gave you in the beginning, shooting down literally everything you said about the Overwatch characters, give you a reason to have the slender body type. Now, try to prove me wrong. I swear to God, try to prove me wrong.
Links our value as human beings within the culture to our desirability.
Honestly, I see most characters I play as in video games as a human being. See, a lot of the times I'll start a game, male or female protagonist, it never really mattered to me. A lot of times I'll start a game and I'll sort of play it comedically. Then I'll get into the game and I'll notice that this character really has some development and this character is cool and I really like this character. It doesn't matter if it's a male or a female. Honestly, neither are more likable
to men, and it reinforces our culturally influenced ideas about who gets to be considered desirable and who doesn't.
I love that pause. Thumbnail. So, she's gonna say something like the problem is that women are supposed to be desirable. Honestly, like I said, the body type for men is so much easily more desirable in any shape. Because there are men that are... Most men in video games are buff. They're hard to take down. And they're a force to be fucking reckoned with.
Problem is exacerbated by the fact that when we do see representations of women with different body types, they're often presented as a joke, as in Fat Princess.
I mean, if you're going to use an example from a game like this, you're fucking retarded. This game was obviously made comedically in general, but there are lots and lots of examples I can think of off the top of my head of characters that were used not as a joke and weren't within this slim body type. See, there's many queens in video games. I can name so many queens in video games that are used with this slim body type. And secondly, in Overwatch, they made multiple characters that were females without the slim body type. And Overwatch doesn't have any characters that are a joke.
Or they're pathologized and presented as a twisted...
Well, if you see somebody really fat still surviving in a zombie apocalypse, they just have to be doing something wrong, because honestly, fat people are, honestly, the bigger you are, the more of a target you are. Because as culturally projected, zombies eat humans, right? Or at least parts of them. Well, you're a lot bigger target when you're fat. So if you're hiding out in a building, you'll run out of food. And when you run out of food, you're going for a bigger target.
Transgression of the established feminine ideal, as in the case...
Is this the only example you're going to give me? I swear to God, if this is the only example you're going to give me of somebody being shown as a idiotic monster, then, you know, give me something I can't prove wrong. Give me an idea that's original.
Of the evil lesbian psychopath Joe Slade in Dead Rising.
Let's see just how shameless you are, you dirty little skank. Say hello to my little friend.
Honestly, fat men are usually added as more of a joke as well, even in MOBAs like League of Legends and MOBAs like Smite. Smite, like I said, Bacchus, the raging idiot that's literally the god of wine. He's a joke in that game. He's not a joke in their culture, but he's probably been used to insult a couple people.
No, not again!
When the majority of women who populate these game worlds are designed from the same narrow template, the problem isn't just what we're seeing in games, it's what we're not seeing. The fact that fat women and women with different body shapes aren't featured in these worlds reinforces the false notion that these women are less valuable and less...
They are less valuable. In fact, they can't get things done as much as men that are in good shape and women that are in good shape can do. See, a lot of our world right now revolves around innovation and new technology, but new things can't keep getting built without people that are within good form to build those. See, if we had a bunch of fat people try to build something, they couldn't do it. See, fat people have big hands. Fat people usually are pretty lazy. And like I said earlier, just because you're fat doesn't necessarily mean you're not strong. But honestly, fat women aren't acceptable in our culture because they are useless.
worthy of recognition.
They're not worthy of recognition. They made their bodies like that. And while I know there are mental issues and other issues like that that make it harder for women, like eating disorders, to make it harder for people to stop eating. Honestly, I've met so many people that do that for attention, first of all, and second of all, well, that's fine. But since we have jobs for fat women, there's no real reason to put them in so many of our fighting and war games, just because, like I said, they're pretty useless in physical situations.
And those women whose bodies come closer to matching the cultural beauty standard. These limitations on creativity when it comes to female characters don't stop with body type. We also don't see the same range of ages commonly represented as we do with male characters.
That's not exactly true. Honestly, in lots of games, I can give lots of examples. All of the Bethesda games I've played have had an old lady character that played some kind of significance. Like Fallout 4's Mom Murphy. She literally told you where to go to find your son. She literally furthered the story. Without her, the story wouldn't have been furthered. And yes, while there are a lot of old men in video games, there are a lot of old women too. It doesn't make a huge difference. That's one of the areas that I completely disagree, because yes, I can agree there are a lot of slim girls in video games, and I gave a reason for that. There are a lot of old women in video games, because old women aren't meant to seem conventionally attractive. They're meant to play some kind of a part, like, you know, a sidekick.
It's not unheard of to see male soldiers, fighters, and heroes who appear to be in their 40s, 50s, and even older.
Don't give me Old Snake as a goddamn example. Old Snake would put in as Old Snake because he was old. He was an old character from the game, and they wanted to give him a cameo. And this game goes from this guy losing his daughter, then 20 years go by. I'm sure he was in around his 30s whenever he lost his father. Whenever he lost his daughter. And that makes him around his 50s.
Playable female characters,
No, you're wrong.
on the other hand, are almost always young, and it's for the same reason that so many of them have the same body type. They're intended to be sexually appealing to straight male players.
Come on. You just pull up these two guys and show me and tell me they're not buff and appealing to women? Come on.
The result is that we have plenty of representations of male characters who communicate that men can continue to be active, vital, and powerful over the course of their lives. Meanwhile, the absence of older playable female characters wrongly suggests that women's value.
Honestly, the absence of female characters didn't show much at all. In fact, the only reason that male characters have been around so much is because they've been shown in the past in war to hold up their ground. Since women haven't been allowed to be in war since the 1980s, and while that was an actual issue of oppression, now none exists. So they're going to video games to rant. Honestly, it's just cultural examples. We need a cultural example of a woman that survived so long into her life. But in some games, you can easily have an old female playable character. There are a lot of games like that. In fact, any game where you can create your character, you can probably make an old female character.
Value is tied directly to their beauty and youth, and that when they're older, that value is all used up. There aren't many good examples of prominent positive representations of women with different body types in major...
Wait. She also gave Metal Gear Solid as an example. Honestly, in Metal Gear Solid, there's this guy, I believe he's a sniper, who, never misses a shot. He's a really, really good sniper, but he's really, really old. But if you get into his boss battle and wait 7 days, he'll fall over and die from old age. So don't tell me that they're calling old women useless by not having many playable in their games, when one of your actual examples has an old man dying from old age.
Contemporary games. In Life is Strange, there's the minor character Alyssa, a classmate of...
Life is Strange was made for a bunch of Tumblr girls. Honestly, it's not a bad story, and it's not a bad game if you can get into it, but it was made to cater to that kind of audience in the bigger picture.
Max, the protagonist. I didn't know you were a sci-fi geek like us. What's your favorite? In Assassin's Creed Syndicate, there's Agnes McBean.
Agnes was a good character. I really liked Agnes. Agnes always was just a good character.
Owner of the train, which becomes the hero's base of operations.
Then may I present to you Agnes and Bertha, Lady and Locomotive.
And in Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic 2, Kreia is a...
Honestly, in Star Wars, there are many examples of older people that are big examples. As combined with the example you're giving in the male old character, Yoda, we have sort of a balance in Star Wars. Star Wars is really, really an unbiased game.
Great example of a capable, powerful, older female character.
I am Kreia, and I am your rescuer, as you are mine.
Let's go back to Overwatch for a moment. Since that initial reveal, a few female heroes have been added to the roster. There's Mei and Zarya, both of whom have body types that are notably different from those of the originally announced female characters.
Ana, reporting for duty.
And more recently, Blizzard announced the game's next...
Again, another sniper character that should be slim, and if they're not slim, they're a big target. You don't want characters like healers and snipers to be a big target. You don't want Tracer to be a big target because she's supposed to be blinking around and getting around enemies like Bastion and shooting them from behind. But if you see this giant circle just floating past you, then you know that there's going to be somebody behind you, and you can just turn around and shoot them because they're a huge target. And snipers are another example of that, because Bastion, giving the same example again, is a really, it can turn into a really accurate turret, and that turret can shoot really big targets really easily. But I've noticed that even at close range, characters like Tracer, Widowmaker, and Ana are hard to hit.
Hero Ana, who's both an older woman and a woman of color.
I honestly hate the term people of color. There's no real difference besides skin pigment. In fact, if we wanted to talk about race, we could say person of another country, because color doesn't have anything to do with race. In fact, the only reason that people have adapted to be certain colors is because of the temperatures in their country. Countries like Ireland and Sweden, where most people that are white come from, are particularly cold countries. It's really cold over there. But in countries like Africa or Egypt, they're hot countries, and people of darker skin colors seem to come from there. The reason that they adapted like that is because people of darker skin colors don't burn nearly as easy as people of lighter skin colors.
These characters are welcome and encouraging additions, but really they're just a start. Game developers need to...
Honestly, it's good that we have this kind of diversity, but the gameplay doesn't really change. Like I said, we need slim characters to be snipers, and we need big characters to be tanks, and Mei is just Mei.
Continue actively working towards creating the same range and diversity of female body representations that we see among male characters. When female characters' bodies are liberated from the need to uphold narrow, limiting cultural beauty standards, the resulting range of representations can not only make games themselves more interesting, it can encourage us to see all women as the desirable, valuable, autonomous, fully human individuals that we are.
Judging by this video, Anita Sarkeesian isn't exactly human. She's just a fucking idiot who thinks mayonnaise is his gender. Let's see the like to dislike ratio. God damn it, please no. Oh, what? What? Huh. I wonder why that exists. Can you explain this to me? Can you not take the slightest bit of criticism to where you can't even have a discussion tab on your channel? You have an about tab. It says, Feminist Freakism is an ongoing series of video commentaries exploring gender representations, myths and messages in popular culture media, created and hosted by Anita Sarkeesian. Visit my website for more links and articles. Find me on Facebook, and share the links to all her Twitters. If I go to her Twitter, briefly, because I don't want to have too much cancer on my phone, immediately I can scroll down and see tweets about some stupid feminist shit. Honestly, I completely disagree with her giving examples of older feminist characters, such as this person and this person. See, the older feminists in history were actually fighting for something. They were fighting for the right to vote. They were fighting to get jobs besides nurses and cooks. It takes a lot of balls to fight for something like that. But now they're just fighting to get slim women out of video games. And she always said she has rivaling opinions. In conferences she said, I love video games. In conferences she said, I don't play video games. Which is it? She never makes up her mind. How are we supposed to believe somebody that can't even decide if they play video games or not? Honestly, she's a terrible example of a smart person in our culture.